They don't warn you about this part. When choosing yourself feels like betrayal, they don't talk about the silence that comes after you stop being the rescuer, the fixer, the always available emotional outlet. No one prepares you for the backlash, not just from others, but from inside your own chest. The guilt, the second guessing, the old wiring that screams, you're being selfish. But what if that guilt isn't yours? What if the pain isn't proof you're wrong, but proof that you're breaking free? We've been raised on reaction, to respond, explain, justify, apologize for existing with boundaries. But Carl Jung saw through it. He said a healthy psyche isn't loud, it's stable, not explosive, but centered. And that kind of center isn't given, it's built, brick by brick, choice by choice, silence by silence. You want your power back? Then stop giving it away through every reaction, every over-explaining text, every fight you shouldn't even be in. You lose power not in one big moment, but through 1,000 leaks. Drips of energy wasted on people who only show up when they're empty and need to siphon yours. Think about it. How many nights have you replayed a conversation you should have ended hours ago? How often do you chew on the same argument in your mind like it's gum that never loses flavor? That's not reflection. That's psychic bleeding. Energy spent without return is a form of self-abandonment. And here's where the shift begins, not with some big heroic act, but with this: observing. What triggers you? What people, words, tones, or silences make you spiral? That's not random. That's a map to your unhealed places, because the ones who drain you didn't create the leak. They just found it. Some of them didn't need to raise their voices or manipulate you overtly. They just knew how to press that invisible bruise, the one labeled, "I don't want to be alone." And they kept pressing it because you kept flinching. But what happens when you stop flinching? What happens when you stop reacting? The game breaks. Your silence is not absence. It's not weakness. It's clarity. It's a refusal to perform for someone else's projection. It's a rejection of the role they cast you in, the savior, the sidekick, the soft place to land after they burn everything else down. And when you refuse to keep playing, the mask falls, the projection cracks, the script dissolves, and now they don't know who you are anymore. But more importantly, you finally do. Ask yourself this: who would still stand beside you if you stopped playing the part? The scariest manipulation doesn't happen in shouts. It happens in guilt, in making you feel responsible for someone else's peace, for someone else's emotions, for someone else's story. But you're not a storyline. You're not a solution to someone else's emptiness. When you finally say no and mean it, when you let the silence speak louder than your need to be understood, that's when you become untouchable. They'll call you cold, arrogant, unavailable. But what they're really saying is, you're no longer giving me control. And yes, that might hurt at first. You might lose people. You might lose approval, but you'll gain something far greater: yourself. Jung said, individuation requires separation from the collective. That means learning to walk alone, not forever, but long enough to hear your own voice again, long enough to stop confusing connection with captivity. Let them think you've changed. Let them call it selfish, because what they can't stand is that your silence forces them to face their own noise. So yes, expect the backlash, the questions, the accusations. You might even get blamed for other people's storms. But remember, they built the weather system. You just stop standing in the rain. Silence disturbs people who depend on your chaos. They don't miss you. They miss their access to you, to your energy, your attention, your emotional availability. And when that's gone, they have to confront what's left, which for many is nothing. The most powerful kind of silence isn't cold or passive. It's chosen. It's knowing you could say something, but you don't, because not everyone deserves access to your truth, because peace is more valuable than being understood. And yes, it will feel lonely, but loneliness isn't the same as emptiness, not when it's chosen, not when it's the beginning of your rebirth. Imagine this, a life where every no builds a wall around your energy, not to keep the world out, but to keep yourself in, where you don't owe explanations, where you don't overextend to people who wouldn't take a single step for you, where I'm unavailable is a complete sentence. This isn't a retreat, it's a return. You're not going cold, you're going clear. You're not disappearing, you're becoming unfuquithable. You're not being dramatic, you're being deliberate. And when people can no longer trigger you, they can no longer trap you. Let's say it clearly. The ones who fall away when you stop sacrificing yourself were never your people. They were your pattern, and your silence is the reset button. So here's the question. Are you ready to be seen as the villain in someone else's story, if it means becoming the hero in your own? Because that's the trade, and it's worth it. When the noise fades, when the messages stop, when the guilt loses its grip, what remains is you, undiluted, undivided. And that self, that's the version of you that doesn't beg to be chosen, that chooses themselves without blinking. Every moment you protect your peace, you're voting for your future. Every boundary you hold is a declaration. I'm done being drained to keep others comfortable. And when you do this long enough, something wild happens. You stop chasing clarity from others and you start creating it within. You stop asking, do they like me? And start asking, do I even like this dynamic? And from that clarity, your real life begins. The kind where silence isn't punishment, it's precision. Where your absence is not rejection, it's realignment. Where every no is not a wall, it's a doorway. So if you're in the middle of this shift, stay there, even if it's hard, especially if it's hard, because on the other side is a self you haven't fully met yet, one that doesn't run on people-pleasing or guilt, one that doesn't water down their truth to stay liked, one that no longer trades inner peace for temporary approval. And trust me, when you meet that version of you, you'll never go back. If this message hits something inside you, write it below. I choose my peace. Let's see who else is walking this path. And keep watching. You're closer to freedom than you think.